Welcome to Infringe at Your Own Risk.
Hello and welcome to Infringe at Your Own Risk. My name is Kevin Rosenquist and I am here with Rand Bateman of Bateman IP. And today we're going to focus on trademarks, your brand's name, logo, and identity, and how you can protect them. Rand, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, so we talked about this a little bit in our first episode where you kind of laid down the different aspects of intellectual property. But for anyone who's just catching us right now, what's the main purpose of a trademark?
The purpose of a trademark is to identify the source of origin of the good or service that you're purchasing. So if I have a tennis ball, who made that tennis ball? One of the companies that has done an excellent job of using their trademark is Wilson. They have hundreds of different companies making different products for them. And my understanding is that at least at some points in time, they have manufactured no products. They just license the use of their name. And, they're required to make sure that there's quality, but you don't actually have to you don't have to make anything in order to sell things. You could have other people make it for you. You slap your trademark on it. And if your trademark has a really good name, you may add substantial value to that product, even if it's the identical product somebody else is selling under a different name. So trademarks can be very valuable. I mean, look at fashion brands, right? There's an awful lot of people who buy a shirt because it is Tommy Hilfiger or Giorgio Armani or Chanel. I mean, it's huge amounts. The jewelry store, Tiffany's, right? If you go to your girlfriend and say, I bought you a ring at Tiffany's, you're not going to be accused of being a louse, at least in that department. Maybe other areas, but that name, it carries such cachet.
Yeah.
There are cars that are not all that dependable, but they have a name that is storied and so they're valuable. Jaguar is for years and years and years has just been equated with luxury. I had a friend in high school who they had one, and his comment was, "You really need two, one to drive and one to be in the shop."
I actually had a buddy in high school who had one too, and it was the same thing. It was an awesome car when it worked, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but there are brands that they have that for years beyond when they are really cutting edge or that solid. I mean, when I was a kid, I went to the Mercedes factory in Germany. I lived in Germany and went to the Mercedes factory and see how they were built. And back then, Mercedes were just the cream of the crop in dependability. If you look at dependability rankings on a lot, and I've owned two of them, and one of them was really dependable and the other one was really not. They don't have that, but for years they have been able to live on that name.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still very nice cars, beautiful cars, but they have that trademark value is a huge part of the value of their company. When I give presentations on trademark to people, I like to bring up the Michelin Man. The Michelin Man, the character. So the name in French is Bibendum. And basically the way he developed was in the old days when they sold tires, they were wrapped in white paper. And so he was made out of stacks of tires. And that's how he got that appearance. And then it's more, but that's one of the most valuable trademarks in the world.
Yeah.
You can go to Africa and go to a town that's probably never had a car in it, and they might recognize the Michelin Man.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are trademarks, Coca-Cola, almost anywhere you go in the world, that trademark is known. Mm-hmm. And so there are companies that literally their trademark is probably worth more than all their physical assets combined.
That's wild.
Take that back, hundreds of years ago, it took years to get a big company going because you had to build a factory and then you had to buy land to get the trees that you would cut down that you would send to your factory and all this. And now you see people coming out with brands that within a few years, they're becoming billionaires.
Mm-hmm.
I think isn't it Kylie Jenner who sold off her makeup line or something? I think she got $1 billion for it.
Well, she needs the money, so I'm glad to hear that. You know?
Yes, at some people's burn rate, that might not last as long as for the rest of us.
Yeah, right.
But trademarks are valuable because so they tell the public an origin, and ironically, the public doesn't have to know what that origin is. They just have to identify that it's from the same. So if you saw two products with the brand on it, they would say, "Oh, okay, these both emanated from the same company." And then, if you have a good identity with the public, they value that for quality or prestige. Um, I mean, being a guy, it always baffles me that you can sell a purse for $10,000. But there are brands who do, and it's
Absolutely.
if you have a Birkin or if you have one of these other brands, they make a lot of money because of their brand name. Because if you took that exact same purse and you put J.C. Penney on it, I would virtually guarantee you wouldn't be able to sell it for half of what you did.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Because people associate brands with luxury,
And quality.
and quality
Yeah.
and durability. I mean, there's I know mechanics who swear by a particular. They will not buy a tool that isn't made by company X because they are so committed to I'm a professional. I use this tool every day. It has to work every day, and
They've
I
never
don't
let
want
me
to break
down.
it. And so I'll pay 3 times as much
Yep.
for this screwdriver than I could pay at Harbor Freight for another screwdriver.
Yeah.
And so that's why brands are really important. They're really valuable because they convey that that quality, that desire, some point of desirability people want. Hopefully, now if you're really bad in your quality control, your brand can do just the opposite for you.
Sure.
Right. And there are certain brands that people still make fun of, even though their quality has significantly improved.
Spirit Airlines.
That was actually what that crossed my mind. There's some car companies. Some of the well, I think both Kia and Hyundai originally didn't have very good quality association with them.
Especially
And then-
Kia. I remember Kia
Yeah.
when it first came out. That was like it was like, you bought a Kia? Okay.
Yeah, it was
and
like a really super cheap car, but it was a car.
but it was a car,
Right.
gotcha from A to B, and that's all that you
Yeah,
cared
it
about.
was a car.
Now they're kind of cool.
Yeah, and no, I talked to several young people who they're saving their money because they want to get this Kia.
Yeah.
They really like it, and and Hyundai did a really good job because they came out with a really good warranty on their cars, and by doing that, brought up the status level. And the Hyundai Sonata is a very nice car, and so they've done very well. But they worked on their quality, but by providing the warranty. If somebody's willing to warranty something for a long period of time, in your mind, it says this must be higher quality.
Yeah, they're backing it. They're
Because
standing
otherwise,
behind
they're
it
going to
now.
go bankrupt. Now, some companies, if they warranted their stuff for very long, would go bankrupt. But Hyundai's done very well at it, and there's other car companies. Audi used to have a not great reputation for quality. Now Audis are really popular. And so, but it can go just in virtually every area. So if you're a small company, and this is one of the reasons I tell people, be careful when you start to get a good brand because you're building that goodwill. And if people like your product, they're going to tell people, and they're going to usually tell people whatever your brand is. Sometimes the brand and the name of the company are different. And the public isn't going to say, oh, well, the company, it's like, no, I like this brand, whatever. And if enough people tell, your sales start rising. And the quality, the positive energy that you're giving to your products and your customers grows your customer base, and you become a successful company. What's really bad is if you do that for 3 or 4 years, and then you get a cease and desist letter from somebody, from a lawyer who says, oh, your company name are very, very similar. And we're also in this space and you're infringing our trademark. So you have to change.
That's a really good segue. Okay. So I wanted to ask you, how can you make sure that doesn't happen? What is the best way to ensure that scenario you just mentioned 3 years in you get that cease and desist? How can you ensure that doesn't happen?
Number one, do a really good trademark search. The better,
Okay.
the better you can do, or the more you can do, the better. Small companies will often do a simple search because you can't afford it. Drug companies, when they release a new drug, they could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on the name of that drug to make sure that they're not getting it crosswise with somebody
No
else's
kidding.
product. So, you can spend as much as you want to spend on a trademark search because those trademark rights, they're not all registered with governments. Like a patent, you have to have a patent from the government in order to have patent rights. But a trademark, I can have common law rights. And I've seen this happen over and over where some big company comes to town and they're, we're XYZ hardware store and we're going national. Turns out that there's an XYZ hardware store already there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to pay. And I've been involved with cases where millions were paid to very small companies because they had trademark rights that exceeded somebody's national chains rights in the same or a very similar mark. So very important to do a good search. It's very important to document your uses. If you've been using a trademark, as soon as you start using it, keep a file folder. Here's how we used it first. Here's when we used it. Because you would be amazed how often I end up in a fight with two companies that started in different places and they expanded into each other's territories. And nobody has documents from 25 years ago or 15 years ago or 10 years ago. Well, we know we started using it about 2014. Well, they both started using it about 2014, and then figuring out who has prior rights and whatnot can be very important. The other important thing you can do as a small company is file your trademark applications. Because if you're in Salt Lake City and someone else is in Kansas City, if you file yours and you get the national filing before they start using, you can go there, even though they were using in Kansas City before you were, you say, but my trademark application was filed a month before you started using it in Kansas City. It has priority over you. You need to stop using that mark.
Mm-hmm.
So registering your marks early is very important. It's not expensive. It's not required. Now there's advertisements you'll see online, about people who lost their trademark because they didn't file. That technically shouldn't happen, because if you were in a space first before somebody else filed a trademark application, you're going to have common law rights in that space. But if you were there, why not just file the trademark application? Then you have the whole country.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they started later, I have a trademark registration. You need to stop because we've now expanded and we're not just in Salt Lake City, we're in Kansas City and we're in Florida and we're in Chicago and all of those things. But if you get partway there and then all of a sudden, oh, I can't go any further because somebody else has rights there, it can be a challenge. So they're not that expensive. Typically for $2,000, you can run a trademark through the process and get a registration. That's worth a lot down the road if you ever end up in litigation or something and you can show, no, I've been using it this long. And it's also open notorious use. If you were using that long and somebody else uses a similar mark and they don't object for 10 years and then try and sue you, they're going to have a much harder time stopping you using the mark, because you say, look, I was here. It was on the trademark records. You did nothing. You waived your rights to stop me. We've got no evidence there's actual confusion.
If you do a trademark search and you look at it and it's I forget what is it, expired, or I think is the term that they use for it. Is that fair game after that?
Yes and no.
Okay. All right.
It depends, because in theory, and I've seen this happen, you can have a trademark that it's expired, the federal registration is expired, but they're still using the mark. And if they're still using the mark, then you would still be infringing, because they wouldn't have nationwide, but they would have wherever they're using it. The other thing is there's also kind of a doctrine where trademark rights can exist in the ether. So if a mark was very well known, I mean, if Audi tomorrow changed its name to Super VW instead, right? I couldn't go register Audi for a number of years
Hmm.
until the public had stopped associating that mark with, um, the Volkswagen Group.
But what
Um,
if it wasn't as big as Audi, if it was something super small, would you have a better, so you'd have a better chance of going ahead and
yeah, you'd
getting
have a
it?
much better chance. And
Yeah,
yeah, if
yeah.
there's a small one, you just kind of take that risk. You do a quick Google search. Can you find them anywhere? Or can't find them? All right, well, let's do that, because even if they were in a small area and you get the rest of the country, fine. Okay? I can't, I can't do this in these 3 counties in Kansas. Okay, that's fine.
Whatever. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
whatever. But if it's, if it's somebody who's national and they're going, no, we're still using it across the country, so you're still infringing. It's a harder case when you go in common law rights, because you have to prove that the public associates your mark as a trademark. Whereas if you have a federal registration, that's a legal presumption, which makes that lawsuit much easier. But it can still happen. There's people who win lawsuits all the time on common law rights
Right. Yeah,
that
yeah.
they're using.
What's the difference between the little TM and the little R with the circle around it? I'm sure you get that question all the time.
Yes, and it depends on where you're at. So in some foreign countries, the TM means you have a registered trademark. In the U.S., the circle R means it's registered. It's registered with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. If you have a TM in the U.S., that means you are claiming trademark rights in that term, but you don't have to have a registration. So
Oh.
if you want to protect something as a trademark, then you should put the TM on as soon as you can, because you're telling everybody, I'm considering this a trademark. And then when you get your registration, switch it to the Circle R. It's very important when you submit your specimens showing how you're using the mark to the Patent and Trademark Office that you do not have the Circle R if it's not registered. That gets them
Okay.
very upset. Um, so, that's an important thing not to do. But yeah, putting a TM on something that you appreciate as a trademark tells the public this is a trademark. And that can be important. There's people who will come back and claim, well, I have a trademark because I was using it, but it isn't really clear if they're using it as a trademark or they're using it just as the term for something,
Mm-hmm.
right? One of the important things with a trademark is there's different levels of the strength of a trademark. Ground level, something that can never become a trademark, is something that's generic. So I cannot trademark the word computer for computers because that's generic. That's what it is, right? I can't register the mark Apple for Granny Smith apples because it's an apple.
Mm-hmm.
But I can register Apple for computers or computer for apples, right? If I want to call my brand of Granny Smith apples computer, I can. Or if I want to
It's kind of
call,
brilliant, actually. We got to get
yeah,
on that.
or if I want to call my computers an Apple, you can do that. And apparently it leads to trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
Um,
Apparently, you do very,
so,
very well.
so there's generic. Next step up is something that's merely descriptive. So it describes features of the product or service, right? So I could come out, if I call it Chicago deep dish. Okay, what do you think that is?
It's pizza.
Okay, there you
I'm
go.
from Chicago. I know that well.
It's merely descriptive, right? Because everyone from Chicago knows deep dish. But if you're the only one using it for an extended period of time, you can end up with trademark rights in it because you can show everybody now associates this with us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So so the second step up is merely descriptive. Third step up is something that's suggestive. Kind of tells you, but it doesn't directly tell you what it is. Copper tone for tanning lotion.
Yeah.
Treetop for apple juice. It suggests, but it doesn't tell you
Yeah.
what it is. And then above that are arbitrary and fanciful marks. And fanciful is like Apple for computers, right? They have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs thought they sounded good, and turns out he was right. So
And Google, right? Google's another fanciful,
Yeah,
right?
and Google, they took the word Google and turned into that. And then arbitrary are made up words. So
Oh,
Xerox.
so Google would fall into that, right?
Yeah, but yeah, so if it's made up words, those are the strongest trademarks.
Yeah.
Xerox, Kodak, but trademark law has a really weird thing in it. You can win so much you lose. If your trademark becomes so strong that everybody starts calling the product your mark instead of the proper name for the product, your mark becomes generic again.
Yeah. Band-Aid.
It's called genericide.
Mm-hmm.
And Band-Aid is still a brand.
Yeah.
But some examples: escalator,
Oh, okay.
linoleum.
Zamboni, isn't that one? I think I had that. Zamboni is one.
And Xerox got to be so popular, they were afraid they were going to get genericide
Yeah.
on the mark. So in business magazines, a couple times a year, you would see advertisements say, you can't take a Xerox, you can't make a Xerox, go through all these things because a Xerox is a brand of photocopier.
Ah, okay.
So they go out of their way. And the best way to know if you're using your trademark properly is if you can put the word brand behind your trademark, right?
Xerox brand.
So,
Yeah.
Xerox brand copier, Apple brand computer, Summit brand contracting, whatever it is. If you can put that word there, then that shows that you can use the trademark right. So it's important to, identify what your trademark is, protect your trademark. If you let anybody else use your trademark, if you license anybody, it's very important that you have the right to control quality. If you don't, it's called naked licensing, and your trademark can go poof because you weren't protecting the public by ensuring that the quality of the brand maintains the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it was great quality, right? You could have a brand that's associated with poor quality.
Sure.
But if you license that brand, you need to make sure that you have got that you have a quality provision that you will, and that you actually make some effort. There's companies who will license somebody their mark, and they go out 2 or 3 times a year and do spot checks on the factories just to make sure they're making it in accordance with the company's quality requirements.
And that's definitely smart on their part.
And that's huge, with brands.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are out of time for today, but we've got lots more trademark information coming your way down the road. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Rand, for your time. That wraps up today's episode. If you need help protecting your brand, head to batemanip.com, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We've got lots more stuff coming your way, as I said. Rand, always great having you here. Thanks so much for all the insight.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.